What is going on, everybody? Welcome to ElijahFire episode 221. Today is Monday, April 24th, 2023. Guys, today's going to be a fantastic show. I'm very excited. But before we get started, we stream to 4 glorious locations. It's ElijahFire on YouTube, ElijahFire on Twitch, ElijahFire on Facebook, and ElijahFire on Rumble. So if you guys are watching on Rumble or YouTube and you're not yet subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much. Like this video wherever you're watching it. Throw an emoji in the live chat. All that good stuff. Just a reminder, everybody, that starting today and going for the next 2 weeks, we're going down to 3 shows a week while we are in Israel. So that's going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. Today is going to be a great show. Wednesday is going to be a great show. Friday, all the shows that we've recorded, they're just absolutely awesome, guys. So you guys are going to be really blessed. Also, I wanted to let you guys all know. Oh, also, just a reminder then that starting Monday, May 8th, we are back at 5 days a week. Albeit a little jet lagged, but we will be back at 5 days a week. So as of tomorrow, because this was the only way we could do this, because Mariah is coming with us on the Israel tour. As of tomorrow, all of the episodes for the next 2 weeks are going to be uploaded onto our podcast platforms, which are Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So if you want that early access and you want to jump in and you want to binge all the episodes for this week in audio form, there you go. You're welcome. But if you want to engage in the live chat like normal, then you can do that as well, and just watch each episode as they air. If you want some semblance of normality, part of your routine, if you stick around for these live chats or these live shows, then you can do that as well. So you have options. You have access to all 6 episodes, 221 through 226, or you can wait and watch them all as they air. Also, anytime you guys donate to ElijahFire.com/donate, you guys know the drill. We take part of it and we funnel it into our water drilling effort. See how that tied in the little thing I said? See, yeah. And we take a portion of every donation and we funnel it into our water well efforts. So we're gonna play a quick update video showing you where that money is going, and then we are going to get going with this amazing episode. Here we go. All right. So today's show is going to be great. We're going to be talking about creative avenues to engage in conversation with younger generations, identifying why kids are being targeted today. We're going to be talking about much, much more, but I can think of no other person than as an authority in these topics than my guest today. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's also the founder of Freedom Lounge. Let's give it up for my guest today, Cindy McGill. Cindy McGill. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to ElijahFire. Last time you were with your amazing husband, Tim, which was a great episode. Very excited to have you kick off this, maiden voyage of the Israel thing, so yeah.
Hey, you're going to have a lot of fun over there because there's a lot of young Jewish kids that are seeking, and New Age fairs were really a big, big deal. I don't know if they still are, but I haven't been to Israel myself, and I am going. So when you get there, you will maybe have opportunities to use some of the, little things we've discovered along the way that will give insight to the Messiah. When I was on Sid Roth, he says, "It's the Messiah." I'm like, yes, it's the Messiah.
Yes.
And so, they're just so open. And I remember at Burning Man, when we went to Burning Man so many years, I mean, we were out there 16 years or something. And the young Jewish kids were the ones who saw the supernatural realm in our tent. They saw the angels, they saw the gold, they saw the pillars, they saw all this stuff. And we didn't, and our team didn't really see it. We were like, what are you talking about? And
sure. Yes. Gold pillars and angels.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And because we gave room for the Holy Spirit. So he did whatever he wanted and they saw it.
Well, what's interesting about, because I was talking to a friend of mine who grew up, I mean, she was, I guess, Messianic now, but she was saying her parents, she was telling me how they met. She's like, they met at a Jewish Buddhist camp. And I'm like, Jewish Buddhist? She goes, here's the thing about a lot of Jews is they're like, I don't care what you are, just don't be Christian.
Yeah.
So that was like what so I guess I'm not surprised to see Jewish people. But it's interesting because, if you look even in the Old Testament, how often did they stray away and go towards other things other than God? That, I mean, they were seeing spiritual things manifesting in front of them. So Jews are obviously made for things of the Spirit, clearly.
Oh, yeah. They're awakened in ways, that we take for granted, or maybe we don't even see, or we don't pay attention to. So I'm always excited when a young Jewish kid comes around. They're also seers, and they have a deep understanding. It's not even hard to communicate, like interpreting a dream for them or whatever. They automatically go into spirit mode, and they can understand it almost drawing it. I'm going to say, I think they draw it out of me. They draw it out of me, like, and I think it's so cool. I mean,
well, that's the interesting thing to see, like, different cultures. And not to say, I mean, maybe, I don't know if you could speak to this, but something that I've noticed is, because I have a lot of African-American friends. Like when I was in YWAM, I had a lot of African friends, like native Africans. And they seem to be really sensitive to things of the Spirit, like very, and I think that's one of the reasons why we do see such a concentration of dark spiritual things in Africa. But then maybe the same can be said about Jews as well. I mean, they bring a different level. And I'm wondering if, like, I don't know if you've noticed or observed in your years of doing ministry, if different people from different regions, kind of, God puts his mark on those different groups of people in different ways. I don't know if you've observed that yourself, but.
Well, they don't have the distractions that we do here. And they don't have the, it's almost as if America, we're so material minded. If you go anywhere else in the world, you'll notice that Christians, people that call themselves Christian, or they followers of Jesus, okay, they have to pray every single day just to stay alive. Some of them have to pray in their food. Some food has to be multiplied. Miracles are commonplace. Raising the dead is commonplace, because they don't have the distractions. They don't have the, and sadly, here in America, because we have had so much generosity, we have so much wealth. We've got comfort. We've got homes. We've got air conditioning. We've got food and water. We've got all these things. We don't have to depend on God. I'm just going to say it. We don't have to depend on God for everyday things. Those days could be coming. I don't know, But I do feel like, we went to India, okay, and we spent like 10 days in India. And when Tim and I got back on the plane, I mean, we went and ministered, and it was so different because we saw things. We learned more than we gave out, really, because the people there, it's very normal for them to work a miracle or to see a thing.
Right. Yeah.
And when you prayed, it was right there. I mean, it just happened. The Spirit of God would just fill the room. And when we got on the plane to come home, we both sat there in our airplane seats and thought, "Are we even saved?"
Yeah.
I mean, these people are like totally sold out.
Yeah, they're hardcore, man.
There is absolutely no wiggle room. There's no gray. There's no.
Mhm.
They are hot.
Yeah.
They're either hot or they are cold.
Well,
And
yeah. And the thing
mhm,
that was interesting too, because I've been to India as well, and was that even talking to the Hindus, they
mhm,
didn't doubt the existence of God. They didn't doubt
mm-mm.
that Jesus was real and that what we were testifying about him was real. But for them, uh, they have thousands of gods. They have God
Yes.
for everything. So for
They have
them,
330 million
yeah,
gods.
so for them, it was one God of many. So,
Mhm.
but that was a real wake-up call for me of just like, yeah, because I'm so over here, it's like atheism, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, right,
Mhm.
but for them, they didn't doubt God worked in miracles. They didn't doubt that
Yeah.
Jesus healed. They just thought, oh, well, he's just one God of many,
Yeah.
just a totally different mindset. It's wild.
Well, and so you go over, people do take missions trips and they go over to these different places, Africa, India,
Hmm.
different places like that. And they see miracles and they go to see miracles and they work miracles and miracles happen.
Hmm.
Eyes grow in sockets, ears open up, arms that were not formed at birth, they came
Hmm.
out, without an arm, grew out, and with fingers and the whole thing. And here in America, you don't see that kind of thing all the time
Right.
because people just don't have. There's no faith for it, for one thing.
Right.
And so, but I mean, it does happen. But the weird thing was for me anyway, and why I do the ministry type stuff that I do is because I've always had my heart for America because I just realized we're just falling behind. Like we don't have intimacy with God. We
Mhm.
don't have even a desire. Everything has to be flash and bash and big production and
Mhm.
all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remembered, the scripture where Jesus said, many will come to me in that day and say, "Didn't we work miracles in your name? Didn't we do these things?" And he goes, "Well, depart from me because I never knew you.
Yeah.
You had no personal relationship with me." And so I thought America, in a lot of ways, is a harder mission field than any place else I've been. And
Mhm.
and I'm looking at these young kids and I'm thinking, okay, you guys are getting ready to have an explosion of a demonstration of the power of heaven. Heaven's going to split open and there's going to be this demonstration. I just finally watched the Revolution movie.
Mhm.
I didn't see it when it first came out. And I was like, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
It's like, and also the foundation of it was the free love. It was love movement. It was a love. It was satisfying a God-shaped hole in the heart of people. When it filled up, we weren't seeking other things. We didn't need drugs. We didn't need alcohol. We didn't need relationships. We didn't need all
Right.
the sex and all the stuff to fill the hole.
Yeah.
And God filled it. And so here we are again. I was just listening to Rick Joyner, and he was talking about when he got saved, in the Jesus movement too. And he said he made a statement, and I had to think about it. And he goes, "When I got saved back in the Jesus movement," he goes, the world was in far worse condition than now." And I thought,
Interesting.
hmm, because I don't remember that, but I was young. I was 20, and I thought, I wonder what because he's older than me a little bit, and I thought, I wonder what he was seeing. I wonder what he knew. I mean, we'd come back from the Vietnam War,
That's
so that
true. There's a lot
that
of
was.
assassinations. There was a lot
Mhm.
of, yeah.
And so, there were those things, but it's like we're in we're primed and ready, it seems right now, for a huge demonstration of the power of God. And the thing that will trip us up, okay? And I mean, I'm doing outreaches in all kinds of places, right? Some are filmed, some are not, because, there's a time to show some things that we see. But I'm telling you that once the wall is down and you're able to ask questions and to have conversation with people that don't, that are different than you, then they want to hear more. They're looking for someone who can accept them and love them. And no matter what they're into, no matter what they've fallen into, no matter what their upbringing, it's like God told me before, you don't know their story. So, and so I think as we do that, as we can position ourselves and go, okay, I'm not going to have a knee jerk here. Yeah, these people are dressed like this or dressed like that. And I have to watch it myself, especially with the drag queen thing and trying to draw kids. Well, why do they want children?
Yeah.
Why do they want kids?
Yeah. Why do they want kids? Cindy?
Yeah. Go to the adults and do it there, whatever. But why are you trying to normalize this for children? And so it's just a spirit, that has been unleashed on the kids because they're getting ready to have a huge visitation from God. And it's going to literally displace the devil's plan and all the things that he has for them. And so, I have to rely a lot on what God's going to do. If I don't have the power to do something about it, like, and I'm there and then I have to say, well, then you've got God. You said you would contend with those who contend with us and you would save our kids. And so it's like it's on you. It's on you now to do this because I'm here. I'm available. What do you want me to do? How do you want this to go down? What is your strategy here? How do you want this to shake out? Because if I'm here to gain information for my own benefit, so I know what's going on, so I know how to pray, I know how to build intercessory teams for when I go out and take people with me, then that's for my own information. Now I know what to do. I know how to position myself or to get myself in a place where I can build a team that I know is going to be unified and they're going to be able to do something. We're going to get an assignment. We will get a download. We'll get a blueprint of what we need to be doing. And when we go into those places, and I saw it happen at Burning Man, I saw it happen at LGBTQ places, the Queer Lounge. I saw it happen at the film festivals. I saw it happen at the Pagan Festival. And it was like God gave us ahead of time things that would, that would happen. And even the Gothic kids in Scotland. And we just had an audience with them. We looked nothing like them. We had nothing in common with them, but we were available. And I got a word of knowledge for one of them. And pretty soon all of them came over and wanted to know more. We had 30 or 40 kids at the park.
Well, okay. So Cindy, let's talk about that a little bit because I've heard numerous people, and I've even had this thought myself of like, man, like I don't look, I do believe there is something to be said about like if someone looks closer to a certain group of people, they may take to them quicker. But what you're saying is that's not a requirement because you just said, because I think people look at that and go, well, I don't look like I'm not tatted up. I don't have, whatever, so I don't look like them. So they're not going to listen to me. But what you just said is that doesn't matter because you just said we don't look anything like these goth kids in Edinburgh. So, but we had an audience with them. Why? Why is that? Why did that happen, Cindy? That's what I want to know. I know a lot of people are going to ask the same question.
Yeah. Well, we, a lot of our entry or starting conversation is to, say, hey, we're dream interpreters, or we're out here, we're spirit readers. That you can use that word too. We're spirit readers. and we do alignments. We do spiritual alignments for people, and get everything straightened out and whatever kind of thing, because they're always in some kind of a stir. But dream interpretation works so well. I'm so thankful. And in this case, in the case I'm talking about, I had like maybe 10 kids standing around us, and a kid said, well, one, he was like a leader of this Gothic group. And he said, well, I had a dream. And I said, well, what is it? Let me give it a shot. I don't know. And I was really relaxed, wasn't freaking out, didn't have, and he said, well, I saw myself and I was in a boat with friends, and we went to an island, and we got off the boat, and we were, messing around and throwing the ball and whatever. And all of my friends got back in the boat, and I was there. I was left. And there was something trying to kill me. And instantly, without thinking, I heard God say, he's suicidal.
Wow. And
I said, how long, without even interpreting the dream, I said, how long have you been suicidal? And he gasped.
Yeah.
And all of his friends did. And I said, when you isolate yourself, you seek your own desire, and you don't listen to sound wisdom. So you put yourself, that's in Proverbs, you put yourself in a place where you've isolated yourself to seek your own desire, and anything that isn't lining up with your destiny is going to try and take you out. So I said, I'm going to break that off of you. And I said, you're going to live and not die. You're going to fulfill your destiny and your years on this earth, and you're going to have clarity of mind. And you're going to be able to see. Now I'm giving him a whole new spiritual, like a prescription for life. And and I could feel the power behind my words. I could feel that God was saying, yes, keep telling him what his future is. Keep telling him about how he's going to be, his path will be navigated in such a way that he will. And see, this is the thing we get messed up with. We think, well, we need to seal the deal. We need to talk about
plant, you need to water, and then you need to harvest all in
all in one time. Well, God's a farmer, and also he's not my kid, he's God's kid, so and so I've only got so much I can say, and then God's going to direct his path, because I said your path is going to be directed, and crooked places are going to be made straight, and rough places are going to be made smooth. And you're going to begin to walk down the path. And as you do, you're going to get direction. You're going to get purpose and identity. And you're going to see who you really are and come into who you really are. And all of these other things are going to begin to fall off of you that have been plaguing you. And even the nightmares and the different things that you've had at night are not going to be available to you anymore. So I was canceling the enemy's assignment over him. And that opened up all these kids, because now, I mean, we're talking, some were as young as 14 and 15. Wow. So they weren't like adult kids. They were just kids that were just going with this thing because it was weird and different, and it wasn't religious, right? And then they all wanted their dreams interpreted. They wanted, there were a couple of times when we got to say, well, I hear from God, the creator, and here's what I see about you. Now we're giving words of knowledge. And we came back the next night because we couldn't get to them all, because more and more people started showing up. And again, probably the oldest one there was maybe 19 or 20. So all of them were young kids, and they came back the next day because we said we would come back the next day. And the police had to close the park down at a certain hour for vandalism purposes, and they would gate it up, and they'd blow the whistle and go, okay, everybody come out, everybody on the street. This was our second night. And there was a young girl who chased me out to the gate where the police was blowing the whistle, telling everybody to get out. And she said, I'm not going to leave here until you tell me what God thinks about me.
Wow.
And I was like, I would never be able to have a conversation with someone like that in a church setting. They wouldn't have, they needed personal attention. They need personal attention. The other thing that we need to remember is that they have love languages. And oftentimes we try and some of them need a hug because touch is their love language. That's what they need. They needed that at the adult convention this year. We were like, what is it? Is it words of encouragement? Is it dream interpretation? What is it? Is it gift giving? Because we do have gifts that we give out, what is it? And it was personal touch. They wanted personal touch. And I found out that because I'm not a hugger by nature. I mean, but I was like, they would even say to me, they would tell me what their love, they would say to me, can I get a hug? And I go, yeah, absolutely. I go, I'm a mom. I'll hug you. And I do. And I hug them hard and they hug me hard. And it's like this thing happens, this, all their shields go down, all their walls go down, all their fear and apprehension. And at that point, we have a trust bridge. We've got something now that, and they're like, are you going to come back? Are you going to be here again? Because we could have probably started some kind of a thing there at that park. Wouldn't be in a building. It would just be in a park. And we could have started something. I mean, and I'm all over that. I'm like, no, we're not going to be able, we have to leave tomorrow. But you know what? We come back from time to time. And I thought, what about, we had 2 people with us who lived there actually. And they did take it, but some of their friends, just a few, maybe 2 or 3 dream interpreters. And they did continue to go back. And but when we had the whole team of about 8 of us, maybe 10 of us there, it was just like a portal opened up, or there was just this favor, or they wanted more. That's all I can say. They were like, I've never had this. I never understood this. I didn't know my dreams meant anything. I didn't know you were safe. We like you, kind of thing. And I knew that it was not me. I mean, it's just the love of God going. It's a compelling factor. I talk about that in Words at Work. It's like Words at Work brought the heart of God forward. It's a compelling factor. And they're just like, oh my gosh. And then you're learning as well. I learned as much there as they got.
Yeah.
Because
I'm sure.
I didn't know about their culture. I didn't know about what they do. And, and so I thought we are so stuck in this, we always talk about thinking outside the box. We have to know what's in the box. Well, we know what's in the box and it's not working because it was never meant to be boxed up.
Right.
It's meant to be out there.
Yeah. Well, and Cindy, let's talk about the whole idea of, and I mean, feel free to add any other unconventional methods of reading, but specifically tattoo reading. And before we move on, I know that a lot of the people are going to be like, whatever, tattoos, whatever, like in terms of like, I don't have a problem with them, but there are going to be people who are going to completely close off because they hear tattoos and they're like, well, tattoos, the Bible says blah, blah, blah. The reality is this: regardless of your interpretation of a verse or a section, which it's not specifically talking just about people getting tattoos, it was marking their bodies in regards to worship to Baal, and that's a whole nother thing. The reality is people are getting tattoos. So regardless of your stance on it, people are still getting tattoos. And God doesn't waste any opportunity to reach people,
right.
unlike us that do. Can God use tattoos? Can God speak to people through tattoos they got that maybe they thought were just on a whim?
Yeah, he does all the time.
Let's talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. Just for good measure, I'll let everyone know I don't have a tattoo.
I
But
don't
the only
either.
reason I don't have one is because everything that I would get would sag.
Yeah.
And I just don't like needles.
Yeah.
I just don't like it. And I like change too much. So if I got one, I'm not sure that I wouldn't like it's like jewelry or anything else. I just like change too much. I mean, I don't know that I'd want that on me forever and ever, you know?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
so
that's my personal
yeah,
preference.
so I don't have tattoos either, and it was because I couldn't think of anything I would want on my body for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I have a lot of interests, I have a lot of things I like, but there's literally nothing that I
right.
could think of. But Cindy, just really quick, I had one time I was on a mission trip. It was in the States, but it was a mission trip, and I was with some friends, and that time right before sleep and awake, where sometimes I feel like those are the times where
Yeah,
God
the
speaks.
Twilight.
Yeah, it speaks to me like the most profoundly. And I looked on my left arm, and I had this list tattooed right on my forearm,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in a bunch of different languages, but at the bottom was my wife, then girlfriend. She was my girlfriend, and it said bride. And I realized that every single one of those said bride on them, and it was in different languages, but the last one was in English, and it was in my wife's handwriting. So I don't know if
Wow.
you have an interpretation of that.
Well, it was a dream, right?
Yeah, so it was like,
A Twilight
hmm
dream. Yeah. Yeah, usually, God will speak to you about coming events, about your future and different
hmm
things like that. It's in Job 36 or 34, I think. And it says, God speaks one way than another, but man doesn't perceive it in a dream and
hmm
a vision in the night. He'll guide your path. He'll show you what to do. He'll keep you back from the pit, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, so yeah, he's going to give you, let me say this about big decisions. Anytime you're going to make a big decision, in this case, getting married, God's going to make sure that you understand that's his plan. And he will do that through many different ways. It will be very personal to you. And he'll confirm it out of the mouths of two or three or more. He'll confirm it out of his word. He'll confirm it in a dream. He'll confirm it where it's sealed on your heart, where it's not going away. And that's God's plan for you. And it will succeed. Anytime we're in God's plan, it's going to succeed. Okay. So I think that's what that was for you. It's
Yeah.
like, when Tim and I were going to get married, I mean, I didn't even I liked him. I just thought he was weird, I mean, I did, because we're so opposite. I
Yeah,
mean, you couldn't get
that's
any
great.
more opposite than us two. He is all like, every T is crossed, every I is dotted, every this and that. And I am like all over the map. I'm like fly by the seat of my pants. I was always, in fact, he's the one who probably prayed me out of more things than
Oh,
but yeah, but we had many different confirmation things when it was time, because anytime you have a big decision, I've noticed this, that on the streets interpreting dreams for people, the number one dream is teeth falling out. And when
I
teeth,
remember you saying that.
yeah,
Yeah.
when teeth are falling out, it usually it's a heads up for me that, okay, you're getting ready to make a big decision, and you don't have the information that you need because you're going to swallow something whole if you don't have teeth. So it's like God's trying to get your attention. Pay attention, make sure that you have all the details, make sure it's the right timing, make sure it's the right person, make sure it's a contract that is going to, if you're going to sign one, that it's going to benefit you and it's not going to put you in a bind or take you in a different direction. Just we had all kinds of confirmation. Tim was at a conference at Christ for the Nations in Dallas. I was here in Dallas, but we weren't, together. And a roommate walked in during that conference time and said to Tim, "Hey, I have a verse for you. And it is, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." My mother, who never dreams, I never heard her tell me one dream ever, ever. She was a bass fisherman. She was just an outdoors. She was
That's
an
great.
outdoors, right? My mom would take us to the lake. My dad would take us to the mall. It was weird.
Yeah.
We just had one of those families. And she had a dream about the time that this guy walked in and told Tim that scripture. And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I had a dream this morning that you married Tim McGill and moved to Salt Lake City." And at that time, Tim was living in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
And I'm like, "What?" Then one of my best friends said, why don't you marry Tim McGill?" And I was like, "What?" That came off of what wall, you know? So we went up, I went to Salt Lake to visit, and we went and took a hike up at the Alta ski resort. And it was summer, so there was no snow. And we sat down just to look at the mountains, and he put his left hand down, and right where he put, I mean, of all the places he could have put his left hand down, there was a ring, a wedding ring. And he has fat fingers. And he does. And he picked this thing up and looked at it and put it on, and it fit him perfectly.
Wow.
So God, like I said, when it's a time of big decisions, God's going to give you a lot of confirmation.
Yeah.
He's going to give you the understanding about what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Tattoo reading. Let's get back to that for a second.
Yeah.
We went
after that little rabbit trail,
we
you
went
know,
way
it
off.
was good. It was good.
We're like, what happened to tattoos?
Yeah.
People have a fit about tattoos, and they come up with all these scriptures out of context, and they start trying to label people with them.
Mm-hmm.
And number one, it's not your body. Number two, it's all about them and God. It's sometimes people, because I know their heart, which God looks on the heart. Okay, let's just say that. God looks on the heart. He doesn't look on the flesh. He doesn't look on any of this. He looks on the heart. And I noticed that when people have a loved one that has passed away or something like that, they sometimes will get a remembrance. They will do something radical like that, like get a tattoo of that name, because of what that person meant to them in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like an honorarium. It's like something that reminds them of this person or that thing, or something that so many times I have gone to look at a tattoo, and I know Doug Addison does this too. We look at tattoos, and there'll be flowers and a hummingbird, and there'll be this and that. And I go, oh, this is a memorial to your mom who passed. And they're like, oh my gosh, how did you know that? Mm-hmm. You know, because flowers, they open up and they bloom and they have a fragrance, and the hummingbirds are the ones that come and they show off, you know, or they're very simple, they're gentle, and they're honeysuckers, you know. Mm-hmm. They love the sweet. And so it just was a little tip off to me, you know, and I'm almost always right when I see that kind of thing. It's somebody, mostly a mom or something. And so I kind of looked at it like this. I looked at it like, okay, they're doing a tattoo on their body as a memorial or something. Not always, but in this case. And then I went and looked over at the temple at Burning Man, which is not a Christian temple. It's a pagan temple. But people, because they are spiritually starving and they have nowhere to have an outlet to grieve or to write a tribute or to make a contribution to the life of someone who's no longer here, they would write that their feelings or their heart on the wall of the temple, okay, in a marker. And so they were purging. Do you remember when Jesus was walking among the disciples and they didn't even know it was him, and he had risen, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, why are you grieving? And they said, haven't you heard? Didn't you know? And basically what he was doing is he was saying, pour out your heart. Pour out your heart. Tell me about this. In other words, he was coaxing them. He was saying to them, pour out your heart. Get this out of you, because it's grief and it's sadness and it's hurt and it's something that you feel like you can't get past. And so I've noticed, very similar to someone writing something on the wall at the temple, because they have no church, they don't have an altar, They don't have a place to go and make a sacrifice or any of those things. They don't go to church, okay? They'll get a tattoo in memorial of, in memory of. You'll see it on the back of trucks, in memory of. You'll see it on highways where people have had accidents and they lost a loved one. And then there's these flowers, there's a cross. You know, you've driven down the highway and you've seen these kinds of things. People need a place to pour out their heart. They have to have a place to pour out their heart. They don't know what to do. And so that's oftentimes what I find with some of the tattoos. Some of them are in flat out rebellion, you know, of what they went through. Some of them are, I went into a tattoo store when I first started doing this, and I was flipping the posters back and forth, looking at stuff, you know, and I thought, I just want to see what's out there, you know. And there was one that was a demon. I knew it was a demon. And I said to a girl, she was a missionary and she was with me at that time. She was from Thailand. And I said, that one has visited me. Wow. I knew it was a demon. But they had it. So a lot of these things are images of spiritual things that you just don't see every day, right? And so when I'm tattoo reading or anything like that, and I see something on someone, I will ask permission, like a demon, okay, or whatever they've got that's demonic, okay. I will ask permission. I go, can I put my finger on there? I want to read this. I want to look at this, because now they've taken the time. Remember this, it's a value system. They've taken the time to go get that thing, and it meant something to them. Out of all the things they could have picked out, they picked that out. So I'll go, can I put my finger on that and just trace it? I just want to read it close. And when I'm doing that, this will be in Field Guide, my book, Field Guide. When I'm doing that, I'm canceling the power that it has over them. So I'm literally, because I believe that God said I can lay my hands on the sick and they will recover. And I have the power and authority to take authority over all the works of the devil. That's what Jesus told us to do, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're 100% right.
And so I'm taking authority. I'm taking the authority that God gave us. We've talked about this a few times. And I put my hand on that tattoo, or I'll put my finger on that tattoo, and I'm canceling whatever kind of thing. So now it can't talk to them. It can't disturb them. It can't get past what God is going to set them free from. It also tells me where they thought they were headed, and I can give them a brand new future, very similar to True Reflections, or, you know, a new uncharted path, a pathway for them, an authentic, organic path for them. So we can start to tell them, you know, what they're made for instead of what they settle for.
Yeah.
And so we just use it to our advantage, but it's personal. It's personal. So I'm not just shooting from the hip. I'm actually looking at it going, okay, thinking all things. You took the time to do this. You spent money to do this.
Yeah.
You went through pain to do this. You chose these colors and this artist and whatever. And it took you so long to heal, you know, and so I'm going to get a look at it and see how to flip it around, basically, you know, how to flip it around. Whatever Satan means for evil, God will turn it for good. So, all right, well, that's where you thought, that's where your broken spots were. That's where you parked at your pain. But this is what you've got to look forward to. And I've known a number of people who've had tattoos in their broken spots, and when they were in pain, and then they got born again supernaturally through a dream, through somebody talking to them at the right time, right, or whatever. and they had all this demonic looking stuff on them, and they went back to a tattoo artist and they had it revised.
Yeah, see, that's the other side of this, Cindy, that I was just thinking about. So I'm glad you brought that up, because people who are like, "Oh, if you have a tattoo, then you're going to hell because God said doesn't know them." There's a lot of things that people do. Those people that are accusing people of like tattoos,
The things
like
Jesus never said.
that, yeah, that I'm like, no one is innocent of that. But also, if say someone is covered in demon tattoos and they
Mm-hmm.
give their life to the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
according to the logic of God hates tattoos and you're going to hell if you get a tattoo, if they're covered in demon tattoos and they're now a born again believer and they
Mm-hmm.
want to redeem those tattoos, are they then going to hell with that logic, them covering them? Because a lot of people would go, yeah, cover it up. I'm like, okay, well, what is it? Are you pro tattoo, or are you just pro content of tattoo? Like, so to me, it's like there's a lot of traps you get into when you look at it and just go, God hates tattoos and you're going to hell. And I've heard that so many times from
It's so
people.
sad.
Yeah,
Because first off, who are they to decide?
right.
And number two, God looks on the heart.
Exactly.
He doesn't
So,
see as man sees. He looks on the heart. He knows why they did it.
right.
That's like
Yeah.
a child. It's like a child does something and they do something that's destructive, and they do something that, is permanent. And it's like, oh my gosh, what have you, and do you come up and do you begin to shame and judge them? Because Jesus is the shame taker,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the one who bore all of our sin on the cross. I mean, it's like he covers you. He loves you and he covers you.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to redeem. He is the redeemer. He's going to redeem you and bring you into a place. And oftentimes it's like, your test will become your testimony. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes their kids are out doing all kinds of stuff. And I've heard different pastors, I like this. They say, well, they're making their testimony.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So regardless of what it is, they're going to be able to relate to people that people that are untattooed and that are religious will never relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't start showing the love of God above our judgment and above our slanted and narrow-mindedness, and when Jesus saw the woman who was caught in the act of adultery, they threw her down in front of him, remember?
Yeah.
You know where his position was? Right down there with her. He squatted down.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't stand up with the other guys. He squatted down. He identified with her shame, and he covered her in it.
Yeah.
And if we don't start doing that and stop this nonsense of telling people that they're going to hell when you're not, number one, you're not the Savior.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the Holy Spirit Jr. You're not the one who knows whether or not they're going to hell. You don't know what about the thief on the cross? I mean, in a moment's time,
Right.
today, you're going to be with me in paradise.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're going to do. You don't
Right.
know. But
Exactly.
I refuse to announce or pronounce a hell sentence on anyone.
I don't know that it's ever worked. I mean, I can, I talk to a lot of people. I have never once heard someone, and look, someone listening to this or watching this, they may be like, well, actually, I do know somebody. But in all my years of discipleship, in all my years of, meeting thousands of people, I've never once met one person who was like, and this one person, they told me I was going to go to hell and that I needed Jesus. And in that moment, I turned and I about faced and I followed him. I personally don't know any. Cindy, maybe you've met a person or two. I don't know, but I've never met anybody that's worked on.
It doesn't work. I haven't met anyone either.
Well, there
And
you go.
most people stay away from church because they feel judged.
Yeah.
They feel
Yes, that's
judged.
true.
They feel like if I go in there and I've got tattoos, they wear really long sleeve stuff in the dead of summer when it's hot because they're embarrassed and they're afraid they're going to be, criticized or judged or whatever. And it's like, well, how often then, my question would be to the people that judge, how often do you gossip?
Right.
How often do you sow discord among the brethren, which is an abomination to God?
Yeah.
How often do you, do you put yourself in a place of some sort of superior spiritual whatever, and you've forgotten how to love simply,
Yeah.
and you've forgotten how to love with unconditional love, and we've forgotten that we were once sinners. Gosh, Paul said he was chief sinner. He said, I was the worst one of them all.
Mm-hmm.
And he had an experience with Jesus, and it completely turned around, and he
Yep.
ended up writing most of the New Testament. It's like,
Uh-huh.
what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And
Well,
who do we think we are?
right.
That's
Well,
the other thing.
yeah. I mean, and really, just to kind of out myself, even the other day, Cindy, I was walking. I think it was at Target or something, and I saw somebody wearing a mask, and I immediately, Cindy, I immediately judged them, and I immediately was like, "Give me a break." And the Lord immediately was like, "You don't know what they're going through."
That's
And I
right.
was like, "Oh, dang it." I
Yeah.
was like, "You're right, Lord. I'm sorry. I repent,"
Yeah.
But
It's
it's like,
true.
if we're not careful, we can fall, subject to our thoughts, and then end up riding the coattails, or riding this wave of judgment, and not even realizing. And that's why it's so important to have an active relationship with the Lord, because he will convict you like that.
Yeah.
And we need to, yeah. So,
I know. I've done it too.
yeah, we
And
all
and
have.
I kind of think that honestly, the mask became a security blanket for the introverts.
Yeah. It still is, I think.
They're
Yeah.
like, thank God, I don't have
Yeah.
to be seen. I can put this thing on,
Yeah.
and
I
I
don't have
don't
to
even
wear
have to, I
makeup.
don't
I
have to
just,
interact,
yeah.
nothing. And
Don't have to brush my
I don't have
teeth.
to
Don't
do
have to,
any of it, right?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I feel like, we have to see beyond why people do what they do. We have to see that they have hurt, they have expression, they've got creativity, they're on a different wavelength about what they feel is valuable. And sometimes, most of the time, I'm telling you, we heard it at the Grammys when they did that horrible demonic demonstration, and
Oh, yeah.
one of the uh, young musicians was like, "Hey, I tried religion, but they didn't want me." That was
Yeah.
almost word for word what they said. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what we've done." And so we become
Yeah.
so stiff-minded, and we become so pharisaical
Mm-hmm.
in our own ways that we don't see what God sees. God taught me that. He said, "Look, you don't even think what I think. You don't know what I
Right.
know. Your ways are not my ways. Your thoughts are not my thoughts."
Thank God.
These are people
Seriously.
that I love. I created
Yeah.
them in my image.
Yeah.
And it was like somebody was talking the other day, and they said, you know, they're in the garden, right? Adam and Eve, and they were made in the image of God. And Satan came and said, "Hey, if you eat of this fruit, you'll become like God." Well, they were already like
I
God.
know.
I
Yeah.
mean, so it's like this whole twisted thing, and this whole, I'm more spiritual than you. I'm more insightful than you. I know the scripture more than you. I know, whatever it might be. That is called spiritual pride.
Yeah.
And the moment that you start walking in that, it is a stench in God's nostril, because he said, "I will resist the proud, and I'm going to give my grace to the humble." So we have to start looking at things like God looks at it, and God will convict our hearts. I know I've been convicted a million times for things I thought, things I saw, things that, my first knee jerk, like yesterday, it was Tim's birthday, and we went to a restaurant, and the person who was the put your name on the list kind of thing, had, it was a guy with makeup on, like
Mm.
eyeshadow, eyelashes, the whole thing. Tim looked at me and said, "Was that a guy or a girl?" I said, "I think it's transgender. I think it's a
Mm.
transgender." But I mean, it
Mhm.
took me a minute, and I'm sure my face, I have a pretty readable face, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but I was just trying to figure out,
I
well,
know.
okay,
Yeah, I do
where
the
are you
same thing.
at? And
Yeah.
And I said, "Do you want him to come sing happy birthday to you?"
Yeah. Well,
Restaurant.
where I run into
Yeah.
issues is I say dude to everything.
Yeah.
And so I don't mean it as I was getting to know this. And I say, man, I don't know, man. Like just as in a thing, even if I'm talking to women. But
Or even friend.
yeah. And so I remember I was talking to this transgender woman. And I kept saying dude. And I had to clarify, I'm like, just to let you know, I say dude to everything.
That's
I'm
right.
not trying to be disrespectful, but
Yeah.
it's just so
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I mean, that's what we have to do,
Yeah.
and it's a sad thing, you don't wanna have to do that. You wanna call them out and go, "Come on."
Yeah.
Um, but you have to bring it a different way.
Yeah.
You
When
have to
were
bring
you abused? It's
Yeah,
like that's not it's just
well,
like, oh, that's not
yeah,
yeah, not
or
for sure.
or just like, wow, sometimes I see things about people, and you go
Yeah.
way past their outward appearance, you go way past their, reason for doing it, you go way past um their now solidified thought process of what they think they are and how they've been mistreated or whatever. And you go, I just read people sometimes, and I see things over people. I see good stuff, like I can see kind of through, and I'm like, can I tell you what I see,
Mm,
and get permission, and they'll either say yes or they'll say no, and almost all the time they'll kind of size me up a little bit, and they're thinking I maintain a judgment-free zone, okay? I purposely maintain a judgment-free zone. I do it on purpose. I'm like, you are in a safe spot. I want them to know that, and without ever saying it, I just maintain it. I purposely do that, and so now they're like, "Yeah, tell me what you see." And
hmm.
then it'll always be something that goes right to the root of who they really are. And I probably can get away with a lot because I'm a mom and a
Hmm.
grandmother, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, I just see the beauty on the inside of you." And I see so many things that they're like little buds, but they haven't been watered in a while.
Mm,
And they
mm,
haven't really been nurtured, and they haven't been able to come out and really bring the fragrance of who you are.
mm.
And they're like, "Oh my gosh," and they'll say, "Can I hug you?" And these are people, these are men dressed like women, these are women dressed like men, and they'll just go, "Can I hug you?" At the
Oh,
pagan festival, "Can I hug you? Can I just give you a hug?" And I go, "Yeah, absolutely. Bring it in." And so I just had to say, we have so we have so blown it with our religious and our stuck in our ways things,
yeah,
we're not going to reach people of this generation with an old method. It's not going to work.
yeah,
This is a whole new era. It's a whole new mindset. They've been lied to by demons and by people and people that spiritual demonic forces that we have never had. We didn't have that.
yeah,
And so, I just have to say, we're in a different season, and it's like trying to do an old thing and expect a different result.
hmm,
It'll never happen.
yeah.
Never happen.
Cindy, I have a question about tattoos because I just have to know. What have you ever gotten a reading off of someone's like drunk tattoo? They were like, "Here's the tattoo on my butt. I woke up with it." Like, have you ever gotten like someone who was like, "Oh, I got this tattoo when I was drunk," and have you ever gotten a reading off of one of those? I'm just curious.
Sure. Yeah, because it doesn't matter, if they were
Mhm.
drunk, they still picked it out.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, and then you have to say, why did they put it on their butt? Why did they put it
Yeah,
on you know, why is it on your butt? Well, that's because what you're sitting in. You
yeah,
know, you're
yeah.
sitting
That's
in
good.
this stuff, man. This thing is trying to hold you up. Or why is it on your leg? It's where you walk. What about your arm? That's your strength. What about your neck? That's your direction. It turns you this way or that way. Why is it on your back? It's past things. Why is it,
Mhm.
it's just, you just kind of have to say, hmm, well, that was in your past, and that had something to do with what maybe you'd walk through, but now you're going forward. And so really, it's just going to be something that you remember, but it won't have the effect of hurt.
Mm.
And again, I just believe that God tells us what to do in the moment. And these are things, you remember how he said, I'm going to do exceeding abundant above what you could dare ask or think. In other words, I'm going to give you wisdom. I'm going to give you understanding about things that you would have never known on your own.
Mm.
And I'm going to give it to you in the moment. And that's how Jesus operated. It was always in the moment. And there's things that will come to my mind that I have no idea. Like it makes no sense to me. Like I was out on the streets. I think it was at Venice Beach. It seems like it was at Venice Beach. And I started walking towards somebody and I saw a kangaroo. And I'm like, well, I'm at Venice Beach. I don't know that they're going to have a kangaroo out here,
Or they're like, maybe they're from Australia.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, they were.
Oh.
And I said, oh, gosh, it was the weirdest thing. So they're like, okay, what? And I said, I saw a really weird thing over you. Can I tell you what it is? And they said, what? And I said, I saw a kangaroo. And he goes, well, I'm from Australia. And I said, do you have a tattoo of a kangaroo? And he goes, no, but I have a koala bear on my back. So the kangaroo was the lead in to the koala bear. And I thought, oh, so, and koala bears, I went to Australia actually, and I did hold them, and they get drunk on eucalyptus. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that. I knew they ate it.
Well, they're not happy. They're not happy little things unless they're drunk. And then they'll eat the eucalyptus and they'll fall out of the tree. This is because you went to one of those parks, And I thought, oh, so you're a very loving person. It's just that you've got these prickly spots that because their fur is not soft like you'd see. Like
I didn't know that. It's like really coarse.
It's coarse. And I go, you just have a great big heart, but you've got all this prickly fur around you, so you don't let people get in very close. And he goes, God, how do you know that? And I said, well, because I know about koala bears because I went to, And so we just had a conversation, and it was completely like it wasn't heated. It wasn't weird. And he was engaged in the conversation. And again, a kangaroo I had no reference in my mind about what that would even mean. Right. And yet God knew. Because this is the other thing, he who sits in the heavens laughs, and we've forgotten how to laugh. We've forgotten how to have fun. We've forgotten how to play with each other and tease each other. And we've forgotten everything is an offense. Everything has got, some kind of Jesus or God or whatever, because everyone's so triggered right now about all the negative stuff going down.
Even Christians.
I know. And, I remembered, I think it was back when I was in Bible school, and there was somebody that was really, really sick. And they said they had heard the faith message and different things like that. And somebody came into the room and said, I'm going to start playing I Love Lucy and Laurel and Hardy and all of these slapstick comedy in your room. It was a nurse that started doing that. And they put them on, and the guy was laughing so hard that his body began to respond to healing.
Wow.
Because a merry heart does good like a medicine. And it took his mind off of his pain and off of his seemingly unhealable situation. And when he was laughing, because it was continuous, it was always these funny slapstick comedy things. And he was laughing so hard that pretty soon his body began to heal from the inside out. And we have forgotten that a merry heart does good like a medicine. And so we can't even joke with people anymore. We can't even put anything up. I do it on purpose on my social media just to get a response. I
love it.
Oh, for Pete's sake,
Yeah. Calm down,
Stop,
everybody.
calm down. If
Yeah.
God's not in control, we're screwed anyway. So,
Yeah, really. Yeah.
and
God doesn't
he,
need us to be, look, there's a time to look sternly at something, but there's some people who've taken a permanent posture of that for no reason. I
I
mean,
know.
maybe it's like past pains or trauma or whatever. I'm not trying to diminish that,
Yeah.
but I do think that Christians should be known for their joy. And there's
Yeah.
also like, I think I could, that's the other thing, Cindy, I could say that. And 100% of Christians would hear me say that and go, yes, we agree. But then the definition of what's required of you in order for you to have authorization to have joy is like suddenly people become the moral police and they're like, you can't laugh at that. You can't do this. You can only do this. How can you're in sin because you like this thing. And I'm like,
Well, there you go. And there's your
like,
judgment coming
yeah,
out.
right.
Like
Yeah,
they're Holy Spirit Junior.
right.
They have the say, they have the right, they have to find some scripture out of context and bring it in and slap it
Mhm.
up on you. And you're like, I just laugh at them
Yeah,
because I'm out there, man. I
yeah,
would rather be out there than be in a stuffed up, stick up the butt church. And
right.
that's the honest truth. It's like, I
Yeah.
am so done with people who they just everything's got to be, well, that's the worst misuse of scripture I've ever heard. And I'm like, well, so when did you become a theologian?
Yeah.
And how long have you studied? And what is this? And why are you coming at me sideways? It's like, go and enjoy, give your information to other sour-faced, bitter people who want to hear what you have to say. But the rest of the world doesn't need it. And it's like, we've got to stop it.
Yeah.
We have to stop it. The whole face of the church has got to change.
Yeah.
And we have to start being more freely open. If we see God laugh, if God says, he who sits in the heavens laughs, he knows what's coming.
Right. If he's laughing at the enemy's plans, then let that sink in. If he's laughing at the enemy's plans, that should give us actually great comfort, number one, especially with everything that's happening today. But also like the posture we should take as well, that there is room to laugh, obviously, at the enemy. But then if God's laughing at the enemy, that means that he knows that there's nothing they can do to stop what he's going to do, which should bring a measure of safety to us to go, all right, maybe there's some time for some levity. Maybe there is some time to laugh at fart jokes and whatever, which I do, everybody. I do. All right.
Yeah. I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
So does my grandson.
Yeah. See,
all three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I can remember early on starting to do dream interpretation. I think it was at the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake. And I was screwing up the dream so bad. It was so bad. I mean, I was so off course and I had no idea what I was doing. And the people were getting squeamish, like they wanted to get away from me. And I literally heard God laugh. He was laughing at me.
Mm-hmm.
He was laughing at me like, this is fun. Like, this is so much fun.
You'll get it eventually.
Yeah, exactly. And I started laughing. And I was like, oh no, I told him, I said, look, I'm not good at this. And I'm just trying to, to do something here. And they were like, well, we were fixing to get up and leave because we thought this is not your deal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
I can just remember that because I literally heard him laugh. And I thought, I know he does that. I know he laughs at us when we're trying so hard and, because he loves us so much. Just think of your little kids and think of kids trying to do something and they're trying so hard, to get the lid on something, or they're trying to put the little blocks together, or they're trying to, open the cabinet, or they're trying to put the bowls in, in certain order. I'm watching my little grandson. He's not even 2 yet. And I'm thinking, this is funny because he gets so frustrated and he gets to a point where he just starts throwing throwing the stuff because it's not lining up. It's not coming together, And I thought
Yeah.
we just laugh right with him, And I
That's,
think we've just forgotten how to do that. But
yeah.
with tattoo readings, anything like that, you've got several things that in order for healing to take place, we have to be a safe place. Remember, I told you I purposely maintain myself to try and be in a judgment-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want people to think I'm judging them, because if it weren't for the grace of God, I would be in the same boat. I would be doing the same thing. I have meltdowns, I have breakdowns, I have all these different things. And so I'm just trying to stay in a judgment-free zone where people can feel like, okay, I can talk to her, like she's not going to judge me. She's not going to shame me. She's not going to make me feel bad about myself. She's not worried about, the outward appearance. She's not worried about what happens there. And a tattoo is not going to keep you from heaven. That's just ridiculous to even think that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What about people that have got piercings and they've got all kinds of things? What about these big gauges that they put in their ears,
Mm-hmm.
and all their earlobes are hanging way, way down now. And those things don't go back. You have to have surgery to get those
To
back
clip
to
it
where
off.
they were.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so God is like, in a time of pain, in a time of expression, in a time of self-identity, in a time of trying to figure out what you are, who you are, why you are like you are, and you have no spiritual guidance. If you do, it's probably somebody that, is either very religious or they're just out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're like,
Yeah.
they're into all kinds of new agey things or some kind of thing.
Yeah.
But God is not going to send people to hell because of what they do to their body. He understands their pain. He looks on their heart.
Well,
You've got to hear that.
like
He looks on their heart.
man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart,
He does.
So
And I think it's offensive. It's almost like a stench. It's a repellent to people. I mean, I'm out there saying, oh, well, I'm a follower of Jesus and that's where my information comes from. And, it's my story and it's whatever. And then I think, well, where can I send them? Where can I send them to get further trained or to have some sort of thing? And I think what's happening right now is there's something that's we're going to have to start creating, and it's just smaller communities where people can come together and they can have community, they can have food together, kind of like simple church, It's just, it's Acts 2. Yeah. It's where people came together, they broke bread, they went from house to house, they repented, and it says that God, because it was a safe, judgmental free zone, God added to the church daily those who were being saved because they could feel that they were not going to be judged and they weren't going to be criticized and they weren't going to be beat over the head with Bible in order for them to understand something. God taught me the word because I read it. And when I read it, it made sense to me. And I went to Bible school, but, they broke it down a little bit, but mostly mine came from personal relationship. Mm-hmm. It just came from sitting there and asking God, well, what does this mean? Or where do I go? Or what does this look like? And that kind of thing. So yeah, I invested. And right now, the one thing that God's looking for, because it'll change us. Okay. We need to hear this. This will change us. God's in the process of changing us right now. He's getting a bride ready for himself without spot or wrinkle, right? He's getting a bride ready. And it will change us if we can spend time with him, if we'll get intimate with God, if we'll just let him talk to us and calm the heck down. Mm-hmm. It's like, just calm down. If you have a problem, go in front of him and sit there and shut up and let God talk to you and let him talk to you. Yeah. Because
sit there and shut up.
Sit there and shut up and let him talk to you, because he is. He's talking right now. Yeah. And he's just trying to get us to knock it off. We have got ourselves in such a fizz. And so, anyway, it's just gotten to where it's almost, the world is laughing at us, and they shouldn't be. They should be running to us. And I understand it. There's these, big groups that are gathering. There's, the Jesus movement came out. There's an awareness that is starting to develop because he's getting ready to do something else. But really what they're looking for is they're looking for love, acceptance, and forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're looking for.
Yeah. And we can give it, guys. We can absolutely give it.
Well, we need it.
Yeah.
We need love. We need acceptance and forgiveness, and we need to be able to say, okay, well, gosh, I'm sorry. And you identify, you can even say, I am so sorry that you had to go through that. Like, wow. And you give attention, or you give, you validate their pain. I'm sorry that you were sexually abused as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine what that would be like. I'm so very sorry that happened to you, and that there was no one there at that moment, that you felt like. But I'm telling you that God is able and will and is. And I'm standing here telling you that he wants to just repair and restore you back again and make all things new, and old things will pass away. And you may have the memory of it, but you won't have the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that's good.
I just want you to be able to realize that you have a new starting place here, and that you're going to fulfill your life. And whatever came in to try and jeopardize you or cripple you or to mess you up, even that's why I said about the kids,
Mm-hmm.
God's going to rescue the kids, and they're going to have an amazing prophetic anointing come on them, and God is going to restore. And he promises even to restore all things that the palmer worm and the cankerworm have eaten. He's going to restore the days that were stolen. He's going to take care of things that you have been robbed. Your inheritances were ripped off. You were outcast. You were completely shattered by a relationship, and someone mistreated you horribly. But God said, there's a new starting place for you. And I'm not going to hold that to your account. And I'm going to gather you up under my wing, and I'm going to hold you, and I'm going to cause you to feel the new. I'm going to cause you to feel the love. I'm going to cause you, because nothing can stop love. It never fails. It doesn't fail. In the Song of Songs, it says, many waters can't quench love. It can't. If it tried, it would be utterly despised. It's no way. There's no way it can quench love. Love doesn't have a quenchable thing. It just never fails. It is stronger than anything else. And so that's what perfect love is. It's a complete overhaul. It's a brand new identity. It's a brand new starting place. It's a brand new place where you're all brand new with no. I remember Anne of Avonlea said, well, tomorrow's a new day with no mistakes in it. You remember? It was
I don't remember
series.
that. But
well, that's because you're not a girl.
Right. But, I mean, I know that the series is, but I've never watched it to the point where
it was it was like that kind of thing. It was like, hey, tomorrow's a brand new day with no mistakes in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was optimism.
Mm-hmm.
It had the ability to say, okay, I went through some really crappy things. I went through some really bad things. I went through some things that were absolutely devastating to me. But I know that I am now completely different. I'm a brand new person. None of that stuff is held to my account. It's funny. I was talking to somebody and I said, okay, so we're supposed to bear one another's burden, right? And fulfill the law of Christ. That's what we're supposed to do. But I said, what if we cast our burdens and our cares on God, because he cares for us, right? So I go to somebody and I'm like, okay, I'm going to help you bear your burden. And they said, well, but I cast my burden on God, so I don't have any burdens. Well, then I don't have any burdens either. So now we can't carry one another's burdens because we don't have them. I know it's simple, but it was like, that's kind of cool. Like, you cast your burdens on him and I cast mine on him. So we don't have each other's burdens. Like,
right.
I don't have anything because I just sat there. I shut up, I listened to God, and
Well,
everything was made new.
right. And I think too, there's another element to that as well, because sometimes we do, like, you will come alongside people, and especially if they're really going through something rough, and there is going to be that moment of bearing that burden with them
Yeah, right.
as they get to a place to where they can cast it on God.
Yeah, for
And like
sure.
that's it's costly to do that, but it's very rewarding to be that for people.
Right, right.
But obviously you want to make sure that you're not doing that so that you don't have to face your own
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
That's also like that's a whole nother thing. But
But I mean,
um,
there is that repentance, and there is that place where you come to the realization that every single day God can make all things new.
yeah, come on, that's good.
I mean,
That's a
every
good word.
single day God makes all things new, not just
Yeah.
once. He just doesn't one, it's not a one and done.
Hmm.
It's every single day God makes all things new. So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's let him make all things new. And when it comes to tattoos and stuff like that, that's their art. And sometimes, oftentimes, that will tell me something about a person. So it's kind of like a no-brainer word of knowledge. It'll show me, oh, this, so you went through this, or you went through that, or you went through some, traumatic things, or they'll even tell you, you know, like just recently I posted a little video of a lady who did a testimony, she and her husband, and I've never met this couple, but they read Words That Work, and they decided they were going to do tattoo reading, and they were going to use Words That Work. And she was chickened out on the first try. It's on my social media. I think it might be on my YouTube too. And so then the second time she went to a restaurant, and there was a waitress, and she said, okay, I'm going to ask if I can interpret her tattoo. And she saw 3 or 4 things. And with each one, it brought the wall down on this waitress so that she was able to have conversation with her. And the husband piped up and said, if we had said God or Jesus, it would have shut her down. She was not in a place to hear that. What she needed was validation for being a person.
Yeah.
Make sure that
Wow.
people are seen, make sure that they're valued, and make sure that they have security.
Yeah, that's really good.
Make sure that they're seen. People need to be seen. A lot of times they do this kind of stuff because they don't get attention. They're trying to get attention.
Yeah.
So they do this kind of stuff. So they were not seen. They were not valued. They weren't invested in. They weren't given any time to have someone come alongside them and say, okay, let's talk to me. Talk to me about your situation. What are you going through right now? And make sure that they're secure. Make sure that they have security, and that you're a safe place, and that they can come to you again and talk to you if they need to. And that's what's missing with some of these kids that are going off the rails, and they're having, there's an attack. I mean, they're being fueled by hell, but mostly they've been neglected. They weren't nurtured. They weren't talked to. They weren't even given attention because all the parents were so wrapped up in their own stuff that they weren't giving their attention to their kids, and they weren't training them up in the way they should go because they weren't trained up in the way they should go, right?
Yeah.
Now, what we're seeing right now, what I'm seeing right now is that some of these young kids are like, I don't want a jacked up family. I want to know what it is to be a husband to a wife and live all these years. And Tim and I have been married. This will be 44 years.
Come on now.
This year. And there's other couples that have been married even longer than us. And they're like, how did you do it? How did you get through it? How did you go through? And I thought, we had to weather the storms. We had to go through the storms together.
Right.
And together we found out how we could navigate it and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
And there were some, there were some rocky places.
Sure.
But we had to make choices along the way, all the way along, that we're not going to screw up. We're not going to have affairs. We're not going to, beat each other down. We're not going to, and now people are saying, I want to know what it's like to have a family. I mean, if you think about the short little sitcom things that we had to grow up with, they were all family oriented. There was
Mhm.
Father Knows Best. There was Ozzie and Harriet, and there was Leave It to Beaver. There was all these
Mhm.
things that all had to do with family. Sky King, even, he was a pilot and he had a son, and we had Flipper, and we had, but everything was around a family. And a lot of times in those sitcoms, they would have, when they sat down at a dinner table, they had prayer together.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. So that's what we were raised with, but that's what people are looking for. History always repeats itself.
Yeah.
And so now you're looking at, you know, the movies even that have the most attendance have to do with, oh my gosh, that's healthy. There's health there.
Yeah.
There's something that is good. And
Well, and what's interesting, speaking of movies, is that there have been a lot of movies and TV shows lately that are really resonating with people that actually give a healthy view of uh, a complete family. So, like one of the biggest, highest grossing movies of all time, Avatar 2, that came out in December, was all about family, and it wasn't emasculating the man. It was like the father character in it was very much a man, very
mhm,
masculine. They didn't clip his wings so that they could uplift someone else, and it's really resonating with people, the
yeah,
value of family and being together. And that's the message that God is speaking right now. Even
right.
and I always tell people on the show that, like, God's going to speak that in the places where people are looking most, which is definitely the arts and entertainment.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
I think people's reaction when they were part of a screwed up family, in life for a better term, is there's kind of three options you have, which is to perpetuate that throughout, subsequent generations, right? To carry on that bad behavior, not knowing that there's any other way, or the old adage of the best way to play is to not play at all. So then people just go, no, I'm not going to be in any kind of committed relationship. Or there are people that go, no, I want the real thing, and I know there's got to be a real thing.
Yeah,
And that's why I think us as believers, especially those that have strong marriages, healthy families, that are together, I think that's why it's so important to be out in the world and giving that as an example, because there are people that really want that. And it's
they do.
obvious. We're seeing it in the arts and entertainment industry. We're seeing these themes come up of family and being together.
Mhm.
And so that's even more of a call to us as believers, or people that have healthy relationships, is to be out in the world and is to be available for people to see and go, whoa, you've been together for 40 plus years. How in the world did you do that?
You know what? It's funny. Denise and Ray Hughes are good friends of ours, and we went on a cruise together a few years back. And we, at the cruise places where they stop, they always take you to shore, right?
Mhm.
In the different spots. You have like three of them or something.
Yeah.
And so every time we got off the boat, Ray and Denise were right there. So we just ended up hanging out with them and whatever. And we ended up with a young married couple. They were on their honeymoon. And they were like, oh my gosh, we're on our honeymoon. And at that time, Tim and I had been married about 30, I don't know, 30 something years. And Denise said, well, we've been married 41 years or something. And they were said, can we have lunch together? So Ray and Denise and Tim and I sat down at this table with this young couple, and we spent the whole day with them
Mm.
talking about how we got through certain things, or how our marriages were. And they were taking in all of it. You talk about, it was almost like they'd found a golden treasure,
Hmm.
because they're on their honeymoon. They're just starting out. And they're like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
Like, my parents are divorced, her parents are divorced, and you guys have been together all these years. And I want to know how. I want to know, what did you do? Like, they asked questions. And then we ended up going on a glass bottom boat together. And then we saw them again, and they came and sat at our table, on the
Mhm.
boat. And we were like, this is what people are hungry for. Like,
Yeah.
they just don't see that often. And so we were able to just talk really normally to them. And then, of course, we gave them some words of knowledge and told them about God. And, our whole center is around God. I mean, he's the he's the main
It's an
he's the
important
main
factor.
one,
Yeah.
right? So we were able to do that, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I want that. Like, I don't want to be married and not have God as a center, because I know it's the anchor." And and we said, yeah. And it was as if I think they got saved. I think they got saved, and then they wanted to know, okay, I'm starting this journey. This is our journey send off,
Yeah.
is to have God as the center, as the focus.
Yeah.
And anyway, it was way cool. And I just think that's going to come back. I do think it's already coming back around. And so, but I think in the church, if we can just drop the judgment, if we can stop the shame, if we can stop this throwing scriptures, it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if it sticks. It's to say, well, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to pack this offense or this wrong thing I did. I'm going to throw scripture at it instead of repenting, instead of just humbling yourself and going, you know what? I don't know it all. And I screwed up, or I did this or that. You can always go to someone. And Matthew 18 is a real thing. You go to that person and you go, I have an offense with you, and this is what happened. And the person can say, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I didn't know I had done that to you. Or maybe I did, and it was in anger, and I was mad at that moment, and whatever. That's what the Bible is. It's a clear outline, step by step, on what to do. You go to that person, you ask forgiveness, you tell them your offense. They have an opportunity to then share what was going on in their life at that moment. And then it says, if they don't hear you, if they're still wounded, if they're still hurt, you go and take another with you. And you go, I just need to have conversation here for a second, because I don't want this bridge blown up between us. I want to be able to cross it and have relationship. And it's so cool when you can overcome an offense and still have a friendship with someone, know?
Oh yeah.
And you can go, well, I just was in a bad mood. Who isn't in a
Yeah.
bad mood sometimes? And who doesn't say,
Right.
I do? I mean, Tim calls it logorrhea. It's diarrhea of the mouth.
Yes.
Because
Yes to that.
sometimes it's just better, Cindy, if you just don't say anything.
Yeah. Hey, let's not. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really good. I think too, if you're looking at people sitting there pointing out, all the flaws of everybody and being like, this is a sin and this and blah, 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 blah. It is a bit like going into a space that is an absolute mess, and you're tasked with going in and cleaning it up. You were hired to do that job. You need to go in and clean up. And the people that are the people that caused the mess are there. You going and reprimanding the people who caused the mess and just doing that doesn't change your job description. Your job description is to go and clean up that mess. Now, obviously, we have help from the Lord, big help from the Lord, recognizing that it's actually his strength, not our own. But you sitting there and pointing at all these things for people doesn't change the fact that you have been tasked with the Great Commission.
Right.
So regardless of however much you want to sit there and point out, how could you do this? And you're doing this wrong. You did that. Does not change the fact that we are tasked with bringing another way that is our job description. So yeah, to me, it's like a waste of time.
Most of the time people are just misunderstood.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
A lot of times how it comes out was not the motive behind why it came out that way.
Yeah.
So that's another thing people need to learn. They need to say, okay, let me just understand this, because I don't want this wedge between us. And this is what I heard you say, and this is what it made me feel like.
Yep.
And then you can say, oh my gosh, no, that wasn't what I meant. Or yeah, I was ugly. I mean, you can admit your fault. You can confess it and go, I'm really sorry I hurt you. I did not want to do that. And you caught me at a bad time. And I just, I just didn't want to do that. So either way, it's a win. If we can just learn how to overcome difficulty and hardship, and we can overcome offense, and also not misunderstand what people are saying. If you feel like that something's happened and it's it's been blasted out there for whatever, through text or email or whatever, go to that person. That's what it says to do, not to go to everyone else, because that's gossip. You don't go to everyone else. The Bible says in Matthew 18, you go to them.
Right.
Go to them and find out. And oftentimes the enemy is all about sowing discord among the brethren. He loves to stir it up. He loves to bring division. He loves to come and separate. He loves to get people crossways with each other. He'll take any opportunity, even a look, even whatever. And it's just, everybody's so hyper on guard and sensitive and freaked out and fearful and everything else right now, that we have got to start practicing this and not give him a foothold and not let him win.
Yep.
And
right.
So if we can do that, we're going to be good, and we'll just keep moving forward. And the world will see a different face of the church if we can do that.
Yeah.
They're going to see a different face, and now they're going to want it. They're going to want to come be a part, because they're going to see that, oh my gosh, there's a place of help for me. There's a place where I can come and I can get my stuff figured out, and I can get help, and I can get counsel, and I can get prayer. And, I don't have to live broken, and I don't have to live shattered. And this horrible thing happened, and, and there's horrible things happened. I mean, it's been sad. It's been a sad thing. That's why I talked about laughter. That's why I talked about, being able to not take offense and not be all upset and not be judgmental about people. People have been through some hard stuff. You don't know what they've been through.
Yeah.
And you don't know. And if they don't have God as an anchor, and they don't even know about him, or they don't think he's there, or their perception of him is so bad that they think he causes it all. Because they do, because the enemy loves to accuse God, of
course,
of all the things he does. And so now you've got, that's why we're careful when not to say God, because they think differently about him than we do, because we know him. And then it's our also responsibility to get before him and let him sort things out for us. So, because we've been going through a lot too. So a lot of the people who have been in ministry for a long time, somebody came out, I liked their phrase, they called them burnt stones. The burnt stones, the ones that have really paid the price, gone through the heat of the day, gone through the troubled times, gone through things that, we've been tested. We've been through the fire. We've been through, having to learn how to overcome, learning how to let things go, and learning how to let go of wrong things that have been done to us, and forgive people that did it. I mean, I remember when God said, or Tim said, we need to pray and we need to forgive all these people that did all these things, and we went through a really hard thing. I mean, our denomination closed our church down, and all these kinds of things happened, and it was not right what happened. And
it's hard.
And he said, we need to forgive them. And I said, well, I don't want to. I said, I'm still mad. And so when I prayed, I actually said, well, God, I just forgive this one and that one and this one and that one, but I don't mean it. I said that. And it was almost as if God, he said, I'll take it. I'll take it, because your heart will follow your choices.
Well, it's true. And you're not always going to feel that in the moment, even when you're like, okay, I know it's right to forgive this person. And it's going to be, it's not all of a sudden everything's hunky dory. It's going to be a process of healing. Absolutely. So
anyway, it's a good journey. It's a strong journey. It's going to get us stronger.
And as a church, we can do it. We can do it. And people are already doing it. There's already people that are doing amazing work and are very loving and are doing this, and Cindy, a lot of those people as well. So, but we can do it. But we gotta get up. We gotta keep going forward, right? We gotta, yeah. So Cindy, I would love for you to pray for the listeners, the viewers,
Okay.
all that stuff.
All right. So God, I just want to thank you because you love us.
Yeah.
You so love the world. God, you said you so loved the world that you gave your only begotten son. You gave your only son to die for us. And God, I just want to thank you that you said you did not send Jesus into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him could find everlasting life. John 3:16 and 17. And so, Father, I just want to ask you that you would really circumcise our hearts. I want to ask you, like, bring all the stuff to the surface so that we can get dealt with, we can deal with it, and we can become new. I want to ask you that you would help us become new people every single day, that all things will become new every day, that tomorrow's a new day with no mistakes in it. And God, that you swallow up all of the hurtful and horrible things that we've done. You take them on yourself and you forgive us and remove it. As far as the east is from the west, you don't remember it anymore. And God, I want to thank you that you bring us into a spirit of repentance, a time where we can sit before you and not talk and just allow you to bring things to our mind and things to our heart that we need to repent of. And that we would say, God, we just are sorry. We're just humans and living on the planet, and we've done stupid things and wrong things. But God, I'm asking you to bring to seal your heart in our heart, that we would operate with your heart, God. And I just want to thank you right now that we are no longer going to live as discouraged and disgruntled and sad people, because the joy of you, our Lord, is our strength. And you're going to teach us how to laugh again. And you're going to teach us how to have joy again. You're going to teach us how to jump up and down and shout and be excited about the things to come, because it is not over. You said it is finished for the devil. It is not finished for us. We get to see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. As surely as you live, you said, all the earth will be filled with the glory of the Lord. And we're just looking forward to that. We're looking for the outpouring of your spirit. We're looking for you, God, to rescue the kids and to rescue us and to revive those who have been laboring for long periods of time, and they feel weary and they feel discouraged. And we're reminded, God, of Abraham, who was called even at 80 years old to do something he did not think he could do. And yet, God, you did it through him at an older age, and you revived him and restored him. So I just thank you, Lord, for your goodness. I thank you, Lord, that you're pouring out all things. You're freely giving us all things that pertain to life and godliness in Christ Jesus. And I thank you, God, for resources being poured out, that you're going to resource the works that you have us do, and that you're going to cause us to be able to smoothly move forward in taking on every assignment that you've given us, to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature in this time, especially as the great harvest. This is this big outpouring of your spirit. And I just thank you. I ask you to help us fall in love with you again and again and again and again. I ask you to weed out all of the chatter and all of the nonsense and all of the stuff we've been paying attention to, and help us focus on you, the author and perfecter of our faith. So I just thank you, God. I thank you for new days. I thank you for new opportunities. I thank you for new strategies. I thank you, Lord, that you just continue to shed abroad your love in our heart, right? And we operate from that. Yeah. Yeah. And for sickness, and I pray for healing, divine healing for people that are sick. And I thank you, Lord, that you're giving us the ability to live a healthy life, that we would live in health. It's Jeremiah 29:11. I know my thoughts toward you, says the Lord, not for a calamity, but to prosper you and to give you health, and to give you a vision and a hope in the future days. So I just thank you for that. I was thinking, I know it's not prayer, but I was thinking about, we did an outreach to the VA hospital, and we went in, and a lady that we knew, she worked at a florist, and when the rosebuds began to open up, they were no longer good. You couldn't put them in an arrangement. So we took roses and we wrapped them with a bow on them, right? And we went up to the VA hospital. We wrapped them on a Wednesday night, took them on a Thursday night. And what we found out is we went in and offered a rose and a prayer, and they were both free. And so we went through the volunteer process. We went through the TB screening and all that, make sure we weren't sick. And this was a few years ago. And what I found out was there were a lot of veterans that their bodies wouldn't respond to healing, or they wouldn't respond to medicine. And so we got a chair and sat down and had them talk. We said, why don't you talk to me? I'm here. I'm just available. And they would start telling us things. One guy said, I'm telling you things I've never told my family.
Wow.
And I said, well, God doesn't hold that to your account. You were in war. This was a difficult time for you, and you had to do things that you would never normally not do. You would never do that. And they start weeping and they would cry, and I said, God forgives you. You're forgiven. It's no longer held into your account. And the next time we went in, they said, did you know that when you come up here and when you do that and you sit and you talk with them and they release all that poison and all of that false guilt and shame from their bodies actually respond to the medicine and they get better and they go home.
Man.
And I thought, forgiveness is a weapon. Forgiveness is a weapon against every kind of illness and every kind of thing. And if we can learn to practice forgiveness and help others come out with it, and then let Jesus talk to them and tell them you're forgiven. This is a repentance moment. You're not even held. God's taking that and wiping your slate clean. You don't have to carry that anymore. Their bodies would get better and they would go home.
Wow.
And I was like, this is going in Field Guide. This is part of the, it's
just
different
the next
areas.
book she's writing.
The next book,
by the way, everybody.
Yeah, Field Guide. It'll be practical tools. Words That Work was the Words That Work brings the heart of God. It's the why. Words That Work is the why, and Field Guide would be the how to. It's the how to. So, because we've been in so many different arenas and we've learned so many things, especially about this culture and about woke culture and about people that just have been in post-traumatic stress. They've just been traumatized. And then how to build your team where you don't have trauma bonds with the people that you're talking to, so that you get your team healed as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, everything will be, I'm hoping to get it out before June. I've got soon. It. I know. And
come on now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be a real good one. It'll be a real easy, practical guide for any outreach that you want to do and be successful at it.
So how can people kind of track when you are going to make those announcements on social media, on your website?
Okay. I will have it on social media. I have it on my website.
Awesome.
Right now, of course, we still have if you haven't got Words That Work, read it. Oh my goodness.
Link is in the description, everybody. It's really good.
It's a language of light for a world living in darkness. And then, of course, I've got the dream book, What Your Dreams Are Telling You, and a dream journal. And then we're starting to do this thing. This is oil, and it's scented. And so we thought about this when we were doing the adult convention, because this is your biggest remembrance of all your senses. The smell is the one that you're going to remember. If you walk into grandma's house, you're going to know that you're in grandma's house because of the smell, right? So we hold their hand. We want to give them, have an opportunity for them to have an encounter with the Spirit of truth, which is the Holy Spirit. Then we take the oil and we rub it on them and let them smell it. And so then we give them this, and we tell them every morning when you get up, open your bottle, put it on yourself, and ask the Spirit of truth to guide your day. And it will be that remembrance. It will be that remembrance of that encounter, and that God is going to guide their path. And it's going to help them remember what they had and what happened and how. And so it kind of builds a new brain pathway into wholeness. into health. Let this, ask the Spirit of truth to direct your path today. And so he will, and he'll bring other people along who will help them understand that God loves them. And so anyway, it's just one of those things that we just said, oh, that's cool. I mean,
So
I remember smells.
You're gonna sell those on your shop?
Yeah, we'll probably do them. I think we're not gonna sell them like online because they probably get broken in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
But what we'll do is we'll have them like when we do an outreach, we're gonna do a booth.
Oh, nice.
So then we can, and we won't charge for it. We'll just ask. We always do a thing called organic giving. So we have a bowl, and people can just throw whatever they want.
Jar.
A tip
Yeah.
jar.
Yeah.
And but it helps us pay for our outreaches.
Sure.
All of our outreaches are done at our own expense.
Mm-hmm.
And Elijah List has been incredibly helpful in helping us go. Thank you guys so much. I mean, it's I just can't even believe, how wonderful and supportive they've been toward the outreach efforts that we've done. And so anyway.
Awesome. Love it.
God bless you.
Yeah, you too, Cindy. Thank you so much. It's always so much fun having you on the show.
Thank you.
There's always so much
being
to
on this
talk
show.
about. Oh.
I do.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah. So, well, we appreciate you and all the efforts you're doing. And, I just love how non-religious you are. I love it. Love it. So
I had to get out of my religious junk too.
Everybody has to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you become an empty vessel for the Lord to use.
Well, in a new day too.
Yeah.
We're in a whole new ball game here.
That's right. Yep. So everybody, that is our show. Again, just a reminder, we're only down to 3 days a week. So our next show is going to be on Wednesday, April 26th. And it's with Audrey Frabel. Guys, bring your communion stuff. We're going to be taking communion. We actually recorded that on Passover. It's a great, great, great episode. So come prepared because we're all going to take communion together. It's going to be really super powerful and awesome. So that's at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time. God bless you guys. And we will see you on a Wednesday, April 26th with Audrey Frabel. Okay, bye.